In this Ultimate Team series, I make the best team I believe possible, picking players from all eras of NBA history. It isn't just about how talented the teams are, but I'm also trying to build teams that would gel and execute well together. Today, we're looking at the Ultimate Suns team. Before I get started, here are the rules you need to know. To build each franchise's ultimate team, I will be picking a starting 5, a second unit representing each position, and then 3 additional rotation players at any position I choose. In total, there will be 13 roster spots. It's worth mentioning that I will not simply be building these teams based on how talented each player is, but I'll also be factoring in how well these players would do together as teammates. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at point guard is the famous leader of the 7-second offense, Steve Nash. This back-to-back MVP winner was so ahead of his time, as he was a floor general who pushed the tempo to a pace that was considered insane in the mid-2000s. He was one of the most efficient players in NBA history, as he has the most 50-40-90 seasons of all time. Not only was he a quick decision maker with seemingly eyes in the back of his head, but he was also an all-time great three-point shooter who would hit them with regularity in transition. At his best in 2006, he averaged roughly 19 points, 10.5 assists, and 4 rebounds on stunning efficiency splits. The one major weakness of his game was his defense, as he didn't have the lateral speed to stay in front of the quicker point guards, so he'll certainly need help in that regard. But outside of that, he's the perfect candidate to lead this ultimate all-time group. Starting at shooting guard is the 6'6" scorer Devin Booker. He's a talented weapon who has the ability to score from just about anywhere on the court, but alongside of a prime Steve Nash, he'll be even better. In 2022, Booker finished 4th overall in the MVP race, while averaging roughly 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. As a solid three-point shooter, he'll create plenty of floor space, which makes him an ideal teammate for his point guard. When plays break down, he'll be more than capable at making opportunities for himself, as he has the ball handling and the fundamentals to punish opposing defenders on a regular basis. Starting at small forward is the 7-foot assassin Kevin Durant. Simply put, he's one of the greatest scorers in the history of the game, who has the skills and the versatility to fit in a variety of systems. He's enjoyed being a part of some fantastic offenses, but this may be the very best, as efficient shooters like Booker and Nash will create plenty of open shots for KD, not to mention Nash's elite ability to find Durant the instant he's open. As always, he'll be a nightmare to defend for opposing wings. With his length and experience, Durant will provide some much-needed defensive value to this starting unit, making him a rather obvious choice for this starting selection. Starting at power forward is the round mound of rebound, Charles Barkley. This absolute bulldozer was on the tail end of his prime in Phoenix, and he was actually the league's MVP winner in 1993, as he averaged nearly 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists on 52% shooting. He was an intimidating combination of speed, strength, and athleticism, and thanks to these attributes, he was a terrorizing force in transition, which makes him even a better fit for this group. Thanks to his dominating rebounding ability, he'll provide plenty of second chance opportunities for his perimeter shooting teammates. Starting at center is the 6'10" athletic beast, Amar'e Stoudemire. During his prime, he was a pick and roll monster, and with Steve Nash in this starting group, he'll continue to do so on this squad. For a guy who plays the 5 spot, he was especially dangerous at running the floor, as he was often the one finishing the highlight in transition. He had a decent mid-range jumper when given space, and with the teammates he's got, including a punishing Charles Barkley down low, he'll find plenty of instances where he's given some extra space. At his peak in 2008, he finished in the 6th spot of the MVP race, while averaging 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks on a deadly 59% shooting from the field. Now on to the second unit. The backup point guard is another one of the all-time greats, Jason Kidd. Yes, he's most famous for his years in New Jersey, but I think many people forget just how good Jason Kidd was in his early years in Phoenix. He was a constant triple-double threat who was arguably the best passer the game had to offer. On top of that, he was an elite defensive player, as he could suffocate opposing guards with his on-ball defense, while also being among the league leaders in steals. He had a mesmerizing campaign in 1999, as he finished 5th in MVP voting and was selected to the NBA's first defensive team, while averaging roughly 17 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals, on 44% shooting. Steve Nash better watch his back, as this guy is certainly capable of stealing the starting gig. The backup shooting guard is the 70s legend Paul Westfall. This 6'4" guard was the leader of a championship contender during his era, and at times he looked more like a modern perimeter player, as he had a fundamentally sound pull-up jumper, while being equipped with some of the best handles of his time. In 1978, he put up a stat line of 25 points, 5 assists, and nearly 2 steals, on 52% shooting from the field. He'll definitely be a spark of dynamic offense when he's substituted in. The backup small forward is the one they call the Matrix, Shawn Marion. This 6'7" athlete was the Swiss Army knife of his team, as he filled the void in a variety of areas for his team. For one, he was one of the best wing defenders the game had to offer, as he was an annual Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He was also a tremendous rebounder and a transition threat. He had one of the ugliest jump shots that I've ever seen, but it worked for him, and at his best in 2006, he averaged 22 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, and nearly 2 blocks on 52% shooting. The backup power forward is one of the most underappreciated scorers of all time, Tom Chambers. This 6'10" high flyer was often posterizing opposing players. He was a big man who played the game like a smaller wing, as he could handle the rock, he could make plays for himself, and he had speed that could challenge just about anyone. In 1990, he led his Suns to 54 wins, while finishing among the MVP candidates. That season, he averaged 27 points and 7 rebounds, while hitting 50% of his shots. This star will be eating very well with the various all-time great facilitators on this roster. The backup center is the Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. I think people are too quick to write off Shaq's time in Phoenix. Sure, he was hardly a factor in Cleveland and Boston, but I believe his full season in Phoenix was his last elite year in the NBA. In the 08-09 season, he played 75 games, while averaging 18 points and 8 rebounds, on a league-leading 61% shooting from the field. He was an all-star and made the league's 3rd All-NBA team, and was still an above-average rim protector. In fewer minutes behind Stoudemire, he'll be fresh and ready to dominate in the short time he's out there. Now on to the 3 rotation players. The first is yet another incredible floor general, Kevin Johnson. This guy was the Suns' 2nd best player during their finals run in 1993, and he was a dual threat, as he could either explode as the game's top scorer, or he could completely control the game as the top distributor. Sometimes it was a little bit of both. Despite being only 6'1", he was remarkably explosive and could finish above the rim, in a way that was similar to a prime Derrick Rose. He's one of the few players in NBA history to average at least 20 points and 12 assists in the same season. And with the rotation of Nash, Kidd, and Johnson at the point guard, there will never be a time where the Suns won't have an elite floor general to orchestrate the offense. The second rotation player is the 6'8" forward, Connie Hawkins. This Hall of Famer had great ball control thanks to his massive hands. And not only was he a fundamentally sound player with a solid mid-range jump shot, but he was also one of the best finishers around the rim during his era. In 1970, he averaged nearly 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, while making 49% of his shots. This squad won't be hurting for any scoring, but this guy will ensure that that flow of offense won't stop once he's substituted in. The third rotation player and the last spot on this roster goes to the 6'6" wing, Dan Marley. Thunder Dan was one of the elite 3-and-D players of the 90s, as he was an NBA All-Defender while being a dangerous sniper who was lethal as far as 30 feet out. You can certainly argue that there's more talented players worthy of this spot, but Marley is the kind of specialist that will fit well with this team, since it highly emphasizes transition shooting and floor spacing. So here's a final look at the complete roster of this Ultimate Suns team. I imagine the squad will run things like a more talented version of the Suns in the mid-2000s, in the sense that they'll be scoring an insane amount of points with their elite transition shooting and with their dangerous pick-and-roll basketball. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this team ended up leading the Ultimate League in scoring. If there's a weakness, it's in the paint, as Amari Stoudemire plays more like a power forward at times, and Shaq was solid but well past his prime. Do you think this Suns team can make noise in the Ultimate West playoffs? Let me know below. Also, here is my list of honorable mentions. Should any of these players have made the roster instead? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.